Welcome to Paranormal Nightshift, your home for everything that goes bump in the dark. Here, your fan-submitted stories come to life, told with the chilling detail only you can provide. But before we dive in, don't forget to visit paranormalnightshift.com to grab your free copy of the first ebook in the Dimensional Desperado series, The Birth of Dimensional Desperado. Trust me, you don't want to miss the thrilling tale of how it all began. Now, tonight's story comes to us from Eric, and it's titled A Haunted Encounter. So, turn down the lights, settle in, and prepare for an unforgettable journey into the unknown. This story begins back in 2007, when I was just a teenager, living on a piece of land steeped in history and tragedy. Our home, along with a few others scattered across the area, was built on an old Native American burial site dating back to the late 1600s. At first, none of us knew about the land's dark past, but as events unfolded, the weight of history became undeniable. It started subtly. My friend, who lived across the field from me, and I would occasionally see two young girls playing late at night. They weren't ordinary girls. They were spirits. They would run, laugh, and vanish into the night as though the field were their eternal playground. At first we were spooked, whispering about it in hushed tones, but over time we grew used to their presence. They didn't seem malicious, so we tried not to think too much about it. Months passed, and life carried on. Then the dreams began. It wasn't just me. My sister, my friend, and I all shared the same horrifying dream night after night. In the dream, a tall, dark figure appeared. He had ashy grey hair, glowing red eyes, and an aura of pure malevolence. This figure would lead us down a dark alley to a door, slightly cracked open. Through the opening, we could see an orange light flickering like flames. The heat was oppressive, almost suffocating, and it felt as if our skin was burning. Every night, without fail, we woke up drenched in sweat, terror gripping our hearts, and 3 claw marks slashed across our chests. These weren't scratches from tossing and turning. They were deep, raw, and identical on each of us. The dreams continued relentlessly, and we were left to endure them, helpless and scared, with no means to leave the house. One afternoon, my sister and I were cleaning the house. Among the items in her room was a porcelain doll that had always given us a strange feeling. As we passed it, we felt its cold, unblinking gaze follow us. At first we dismissed it as paranoia, but then we caught the doll's eyes moving, tracking us as we walked across the room. That was enough for us. We threw the doll in the trash and breathed a sigh of relief, thinking it was over. The next morning, the doll was back, sitting on the entertainment center as if it had never been thrown out. My blood ran cold. I knew we hadn't imagined throwing it away, but there it was, its porcelain face smiling innocently as though mocking us. The dreams of the dark figure with ashy grey hair continued, and the atmosphere in the house grew heavier with each passing day. Then the unthinkable happened. 3 nights later, my sister, my friend, and I were sitting in my room when the figure from our dreams appeared. He wasn't an apparition anymore. He stood before us, solid and terrifying. His red eyes burned into us, and his presence filled the room with a suffocating heat. I tried to muster my faith, calling out to the Lord to cast him away, but fear paralyzed me. Suddenly, chaos erupted. Pictures flew off the walls, and the bedroom door slammed shut, trapping us inside. We screamed for my mum, who came running. She pounded on the door, but it wouldn't budge. She later told us that she felt an unseen force push her down as she tried to open it. Finally, the door swung open on its own, and we bolted from the room. As we fled, The entire house seemed to come alive. The ground shook like a light earthquake, the lights flickered and burst, and every sound was deafening. My friend was knocked down by an invisible force, and our skin burned as though flames were licking at us. When it finally stopped, we were left trembling and covered in fresh claw marks on our chests. We couldn't endure it anymore. We called our preacher and another church deacon to bless the house. It took nearly 2 hours of intense prayer and cleansing rituals before the house returned to an eerie calm. The preacher explained that the land was cursed and tied to its violent history. We did some digging and discovered that a Native American chief had butchered an entire family on that land. The 2 girls we'd seen playing were his daughters, and his bride had been buried there too. For a while we thought the nightmare was over, but I wasn't free. Unbeknownst to us, during the house blessing, the entity had attached itself to me. Over the next few years, I spiraled into a dark and destructive path. Anger and hate consumed me, and I became someone unrecognizable. I abandoned my faith, embraced evil thoughts, and did things I'm not proud of. One night, a friend of mine brought over someone deeply rooted in their faith. As soon as he entered the house, he stopped dead in his tracks. "There's something evil here," he said, his voice low and steady. He began praying, calling upon the name of Jesus. I don't remember much of what happened next, but I've been told that I hissed at him in a voice that wasn't my own. I threatened him, my words venomous and unnatural. He called his preacher, and together they performed an exorcism. They prayed over me and blessed the house once again. Both men later described seeing the same figure that had haunted my dreams, the tall, dark entity with ashy grey hair and burning red eyes. They believed that the night we had expelled him from the house, he had entered me instead, driving me down that dark path. But by the grace of God, they cast him out. Since that night, my life has changed. I've turned back to my faith and reclaimed my soul from the darkness that once consumed it. Nothing strange or evil has happened since, but the memories of those years, the dreams, the doll, and the presence of that entity. Those will stay with me forever. This is my story. It's something my family and I will never forget, no matter how much time passes. It still sends chills down my spine to this day. And that wraps up this episode of Paranormal Nightshift. A big thank you to Eric for sharing his incredible story with us. If you've got a tale to tell, we'd love to hear it. Head on over to paranormalnightshift.com to submit your story. Now, if you want to support the show and enjoy some awesome perks, consider joining us on Patreon. Not only will you get an ad-free experience and early access to episodes, an entire week before everyone else, but you'll also receive exclusive access to all future adventures in the Dimensional Desperado ebook series. If Patreon's not your style, no worries. You can still follow us on Spotify or YouTube. Be sure to leave us a comment there and let us know what you thought about this episode. It really helps us out, and we love hearing from you. Oh, and don't forget, you can grab your free copy of the first ebook in the Dimensional Desperado series, The Birth of Dimensional Desperado, by visiting paranormalnightshift.com. It's our gift to you for being part of the Nightshift family. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your stories ready. You never know when you'll find yourself on the Paranormal Nightshift. Thanks for listening.